stocks in Asia remain mixed as some stability returned to markets after last week's rollercoaster ride. Jameel Ahmad, Chief Analyst at GTC, joins us now. Jameel, financial markets seem to be a bit on firmer footing this week.
At least for now, that's the key word I would use. And the reason for this is that the weekend development was that smartphones and certain products would not be subject to the 145% tariff, but the 20% one. But again, that's for now. That helped global financial markets start this week on a stronger footing, specifically the technology markets, and the volatility index did come down to around 20% lower than the highest level since COVID that we saw last week. But I would say that volatility remains high. The global financial markets bounce has promoted some profit taken on gold, which of course hit new record highs last week. There's a bit more of a risk on atmosphere that helped oil prices. But as I mentioned last week, to use the metaphor, this is turning into a long-running TV series now of uncertainty. We don't know when this narrative or the script is going to change to a new plot twist. And that's why we're looking for the latest statements out of Washington as well as Beijing to see where financial markets head next, because the last 2 weeks has been nothing short of a roller coaster.
Indeed. How do you see it, Jameel? More of a global trade war or down to a US-China trade war?
If you would have asked me this question just 5 days ago, I would have said certainly a global trade concerns and a trade war. It does appear now that we have the US and China at each other's throats with the tariffs on goods from China about 145%, whereas Beijing have proposed tariffs on US goods at 120%. But if you look at several of the statements that are coming out from different salvation economies early this week, very concerned about the impacts on global trade. You've got comments from the IMF, obviously the major think tanks and the institutions such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs and so forth are all promoting different levels of concerns. We have the number one and number two economy now in some sort of economic war, and I don't see how that cannot be a negative weight on the world economy as a whole. And some would argue that although the retaliation tariffs on some trading partners have been removed, the fact that US and China have both increased the tariffs on each other suggests more global concerns and potentially more of a global impact than where things were just 1 week ago.
Okay, Jameel Ahmad, Chief Analyst at GTC, thanks very much for your time.